So we've already talked about different maladaptive coping patterns that come out of complex trauma in shame, in fear. But I just want to pull together the rest that we kind of haven't covered yet that are, again, the child trying to survive an unsafe environment where their needs aren't met has to adapt. Those adaptations seem to work. They seem to keep them safe, get their needs met. But 20, 30 years later, they begin to realize, wow, they're preventing healthy relationships. They're hurting me. They're hurting those I love. They're actually maladaptations. And so what we know is that people with complex trauma develop fairly consistent coping styles. Everybody's a bit different. Everybody picks and chooses their different coping styles, but there are detectable patterns that come out of complex trauma. So the first one is drugs and addiction and process addiction. So drug addiction has kind of been stigmatized as this is a terrible behavior. We look down on it. Process addiction is also addiction in its activities. So often those can be stigmatized, but for some you actually get validated, like workaholism, people pleasing. So let me explain addiction in the light of complex trauma. So complex trauma is a child who's living with their needs not met and with getting hurt. And so the result is they're in constant pain, but it's pain that they can't resolve. And also because their needs aren't being met, there's not just pain, there's emptiness that's there in the child. And they can't resolve that either. So what happens is the brain doesn't like that. The brain is never content, can't relax as long as there's pain and emptiness. And so it begins looking for solutions. Every solution it tries isn't working, but then it happens upon, usually first, one of the 12 needs that seems to get met by something. So the child that is sad eats food, feels better. Now the brain thinks the answer to emotional pain is eating food. Or they find sex and they go, the answer to loneliness, emptiness is sex. Or they fall into a relationship. The answer to all my problems is be in a relationship. Or they find an escape. The answer to getting out of pain, the answer to getting out of emptiness is just keep going into this escape. And then the brain basically goes, if a little bit of food is good, then a lot must be better. If a little bit of sex is good, a lot must be better. So let's go overboard. But then what's happening in all of this is they're trying to meet an emotional need with food, which was not designed to meet an emotional need. It was designed to meet a physical need. So it seems to work, but it's not really working. It operates off the law of diminishing returns. It feels good less and less and less. It works less and less and less. And so what does the person think? Well, I just need more. I just need more. And pretty soon you end up with addiction. So addiction is anything that I do, chemicals, activities, that's designed to take me out of my pain, to take me out of my emptiness, to give me a little bit of pleasure when basically I've lived with constant pain and emptiness, to help me escape my present world, which is so painful and I can't find a solution for. So that can be food, sex, relationship, drugs, alcohol, gambling, shopping, online social media, video games, work, people pleasing. All of those become ways to try to solve my pain and emptiness. There's another part that's so important with this, and we've talked about it, and that is we are driven to attach. People with complex trauma can't attach securely to individuals that they should attach to that are healthy. And so that drive does not go away. We're still driven to attach. So we begin to try and find something to attach to that gives the feelings of attachment. And once we find an activity or a chemical that gives the brain chemicals that feel like attachment, we go, I think I found a solution. I now am getting all the feel-good chemicals, and it results in addiction. So we said it before, recovery is not just about sobriety. True recovery is about finding healthy attachment. Because if you don't, you keep going back to activities and chemicals that give feelings of attachment because we are driven to attach. So that leads to just talk about sex and relationship addiction. So most people coming out of complex trauma end up with sex addiction, porn addiction, relationship addiction, and it becomes a huge problem. So there's a couple of things to consider here. Number one, it's built on natural needs and drives. So we have a natural need for a relationship, for love, a drive for sex. So these are built on healthy, good drives and desires. But we now try to use them to meet needs that they can't meet. We now try to form attachments with them to give the attachment feelings, but it's not healthy attachment. And so there's an attachment element. There's trying to meet needs that they weren't designed to meet. And so now you become addicted to sex. You become addicted to porn. You become addicted to relationships because they give all the feelings. They take you out of your pain, out of your emptiness. They seem to meet very important needs, but they end up doing a ton of damage. So typically we talk about 4 addictions. So there's the porn addiction where you're attached to pictures that give all the feelings of attachment and love without the relationship. Then there's the romance addiction, and that's the person who they just love the candlelight, the nice dinner, the nice music. It doesn't matter who's sitting across the table. It's the feelings that come out of the environment and the quest to conquer, the conquest. That's what they're in love with. That's what they're addicted to. Then there's the relationship addiction, which comes out of shame, which I have to be in a relationship and have somebody want me in order to have any value. So now I just chase being in relationships. And then sex addiction. So this is such a huge issue for so many people coming out of complex trauma. Sadly, it doesn't get talked about a lot in treatment programs. We talk about it quite a bit in our program because we've just realized that so many people struggle with this. And until they begin to learn to have healthy attachments with safe people that aren't sexualized, they don't begin to heal the way they should in this area.